Hello everyone, welcome to our video. In this video, Adit and I would like to present you a brief explanation of organizational approach. So let's get into it. Before we begin the lessons, there are two terms I want you to know. They might help you understand the lesson better. They are approach and method. An approach is a way or strategy that will be taken and used by educators to enable students to learn based on certain goals. While a method is the way how you realize the strategies you have planned. So it is possible to apply some methods in one learning approach. For example, the lecture method, the question and answer method, the discussion method can be used at the same time. Roy Killen states that there are two approaches, namely the teacher-centered approach and the student-centered approach. From these two concepts, further learning approaches that underlie language learning strategies in the classroom are developed. While according to Miftahul Huda, there are 6 learning approaches. They are organizational approach, collaborative approach, communicative approach, informative approach, reflective approach, and the last one, problem-based approach. However, on this opportunity, we will talk about the organizational approach only, since the other approaches will be discussed by the other groups. Let's move on to the definition of organizational approach. It is a strategy of learning that leads to the development of special competencies, where the competencies are the abilities for learners to organize themselves in carrying out duties learning effectively. Students are expected to be able to involve themselves in organizing the material and work independently. So in other words, this organizational approach aims to make students able to manage themselves, such as being able to manage time or being able to manage tasks effectively so that they can organize learning materials and work independently. This approach includes 3 methods. They are explicit instruction, Kumon, and quantum learning, and we'll discuss them one by one after this. The first one is explicit instruction. So it is a way to teach skills or concepts to students using direct and structured instruction. It helps make lessons clear by modeling for students how to start and succeed on a task and giving them ample time to practice. So, have you ever attempted to follow steps of a new recipe? Then suddenly one step is missing or unclear, or perhaps there are too many information and directions for your brain to follow. You may have had the option to think about what to do straight away. However, the confusion is enough to stop you from cooking. Something very similar can happen when students discover some new information. Some students might be able to handle the problem, but for students who learn and think differently, one unclear direction or having too many things to remember can be a major issue. That is the reason it is so essential to make sure your guidance is as understood and complete as it tends to be. And one way to do that is to use explicit instructions. Explicit instruction is clearly not lecturing because it is highly interactive. The point is, when you adopt explicit teaching practices, you are clearly showing your students what to do and how to do it. You are not relying on students to construct this information for themselves. Beginning the lessons, you start each lesson by providing students with a clear outline of the learning goals and your expectations of them. Clearly explain what they will learn, how it is related to past learning, why is it important, and in what context they will be able to use the new skill or knowledge they are learning. And then delivering the lessons. In this stage, there are two steps: modeling, guided practice, and independent practices. The first one, modeling, it consists of the teacher demonstrating a task for students and describing exactly what is being done as it is being done. The goal of the modeling step is for the teacher to explicitly state the what, why, how, when, and where of what they are doing. During the modeling stage of the lessons, use vocabulary that is clear, concise, and consistent. And by consistent, I mean that you should repeat similar terms throughout the lessons to improve students' familiarity with the keywords. And then in the guided practice, at this stage, students may work independently or in groups. Remember that practice is most effective when followed by affirmative or corrective feedback. And then stage 3, independent practice. This final learning step provides students an opportunity to test out their understanding in order to obtain the highest level of mastery possible. Although students practice independently at this stage, educators should still closely monitor students in order to assess their use of the skills and progress toward mastery. The second method is Kumon. At first, Kumon was one of the educational corporations initiated by Toru Kumon from Japan in 1958. Kumon then was adopted as a learning model. Kumon is an individual learning method that allows students to study at the just right level, meaning that they start at the comfortable level, the level that they are comfortable with, so that it allows them to build confidence, concentration, and pace before moving on to a higher level. Completing work at the just right level enables students to become enthusiastic learners, believing in their own capability, and developing a positive attitude study. In the beginning, the students take a test to determine the student's starting level, since Kumon consists of a series of worksheets consisting of several levels. Determining the starting level is the most important part of this method. Then, Kumon classes are usually held twice a week. This is because In this method, students are encouraged to work independently. The teacher prepares worksheets for each student and makes sure that students are learning at the right level. After the worksheets are submitted to the teacher, they will be graded and returned to the students. If there is an error, students themselves correct it. In addition to class assignments, the teacher also provides homework. It aims to get support from parents at home. Human instructors provide just enough guidance for their students to be able to do the exercises on their own. As a result, students learn that they can do anything if they try, build self-esteem, and develop the ability to take on new challenges for themselves. The last method will be quantum learning. It is a set of learning that contains instructions, strategies, and a fun and meaningful learning process so as to maximize the potential of students. Quantum learning prioritizes the active participation of students in interacting with their learning situation through their 5 senses: sight, hearing, touch, smell, and taste. The principle is that learning should be made fun because learning is a lifetime activity. The physical surroundings also determine the learning process. The look of the class, the use of art and music should be maximized so that students can feel safe and comfortable. This method brings together the elements where at first glance seems to have nothing in common, such as entertainment, games, colors, positive mindset, physical fitness, and emotional health. But all these elements work together to produce an effective learning experience. And how to apply this learning method? You can start by giving motivation to the students so that they can find out the benefits or meaning of each experience of the learning process, and use a simple explanation, make symbols or formulas in each existing concepts. For example, is when we are trying to memorize the periodic table, we can use this trick. And then practice. And the last one, reward. Celebrate each student's achievement and participation. This is the main ideas of what we have learned today. Please take your time reading it.